Hey, 49ers faithful! We're back with an exclusive video bringing you the latest updates on our beloved San Francisco 49ers. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit that like button. This way, you'll never miss any breaking news or exciting updates about the Niners. The locker room in San Francisco is buzzing with a storm that refuses to calm down, and the whispers that escape from behind closed doors paint a picture of chaos and confrontation rarely seen in a franchise as disciplined as the 49ers. According to people close to the team, SHANAHAN, the head coach known for his composure on the sidelines, reportedly let his emotions boil over after a recent game, directing his anger squarely at star defensive end Nick Bosa. The issue isn't a single play or even one bad game, but rather a string of moments where SHANAHAN feels Bosa hasn't been meeting the standard the team needs from its most important defensive piece. Some say the coach feels betrayed, believing Bosa has lost the edge that made him the heart of the defense. Others describe SHANAHAN's eruption as years of frustration reaching the breaking point, fueled by the pressure of Super Bowl expectations and the weight of managing a locker room filled with egos and personalities. The shocking part is that what should have been a private conversation turned into a heated confrontation loud enough to be overheard by several teammates, setting the stage for a locker room that now feels divided, tense, and on the verge of breaking. Players inside the building are reportedly caught in the middle of this drama, unsure of whether to back their coach or stand with the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. For many of them, Nick Bosa isn't just another guy in the locker room. He's a cornerstone of the franchise, the type of player that defines what it means to wear the red and gold. But when a coach like SHANAHAN, who has earned respect for his tactical mind and strong leadership, publicly challenges that same cornerstone, the ripple effects can be devastating. Imagine being a young linebacker, hearing your coach tear into the player you grew up idolizing. It creates uncertainty about where loyalty should lie. The word is that some veterans try to step in to cool the situation down, urging SHANAHAN and Bosa to talk privately and not let the issue spill onto the practice field. But once emotions hit this level, damage control becomes almost impossible, and the team now faces the challenge of finding a balance between discipline and respect. For SHANAHAN, the risk is alienating his biggest defensive weapon. For Bosa, the danger is losing the trust of a coaching staff that depends on him to lead by example, even when the stakes are highest. The timing of this blow-up could not be worse for the 49ers. With the season already full of high-pressure games, every week feels like a must-win, and the margin for error is razor-thin. SHANAHAN's outburst, as described by insiders, wasn't just a moment of anger. It was a warning shot to the entire locker room that no one, not even Bosa, is untouchable. That message might resonate with some players, but could also fracture the unity the team prides itself on. A divided locker room is the last thing a contender needs, especially when the competition in the NFC is brutal and unforgiving. Some sources claim SHANAHAN accused Bosa of being more focused on his personal brand and endorsements than on the daily grind of preparation. That accusation, if true, cuts deep because Bosa's reputation has always been tied to relentless effort and intensity. Now, with this cloud hanging over the team, every snap he plays will be scrutinized, every misstep magnified, and every moment of visible frustration will be interpreted as evidence of a widening rift. The stage is set for tension not just between coach and player, but across an entire roster suddenly wondering who's really in charge. Fans, too, are beginning to sense that something is off. Social media has exploded with speculation, with some defending SHANAHAN for demanding accountability, while others accuse him of mismanaging a superstar. The 49ers faithful, known for their passion and high expectations, are torn between supporting their head coach's vision and defending one of the best players in franchise history. At the heart of this is a philosophical debate. Is it better for a coach to challenge his stars openly, proving no one is above the team, or should these conflicts be handled quietly behind closed doors? SHANAHAN's decision to confront Bosa in front of others seems to suggest he wanted to send a message, not just to Bosa, but to everyone else. The problem is that when you challenge your alpha player in such a way, you risk creating resentment that can linger long after the shouting stops. Those around the team describe the atmosphere now as one of unease, with players whispering about whether this is just a bump in the road or the beginning of a much larger fracture. In either case, the outside world is watching closely, and every word, every sideline gesture, every post-game comment will be dissected through this new lens. What makes this even more complicated is Boza's stature not just within the team, but across the league. He isn't merely another piece of Shanahan's system. He's an elite defender, a face of the NFL, someone whose value extends beyond sacks and tackles. His presence commands attention from opponents, and his absence, whether physical or emotional, would create a void impossible to replace. That's why Shanahan's eruption is being viewed not just as an internal dispute, but as a potential turning point in how the 49ers are perceived league-wide. Rival teams are no doubt watching with interest, sensing weakness in what has been one of the most disciplined and cohesive rosters in football. If Shanahan and Boza cannot mend this rift, the fallout could go far beyond one season, potentially affecting future contracts, locker room chemistry, and even the team's chances of keeping its championship window open. Players have long memories, and if they feel a coach will publicly undermine even the biggest stars, trust erodes quickly. In a league built on unity and sacrifice, trust is currency, and once it's spent, it's hard to recover. As of now, both Shanahan and Boza have remained silent in public, avoiding direct answers when pressed by the media. Their silence only fuels the speculation, leaving fans, analysts, and insiders to fill in the blanks with rumor and theory. The truth may never fully come out, but the signs of tension are already visible. Clipped responses in interviews, unusual body language on the sidelines, and subtle changes in the way practices are being run. For a team chasing glory, this isn't the kind of distraction they need, yet has become the central storyline overshadowing wins, losses, and playoff hopes. The whispers suggest that team leadership, including front office executives, is already working behind the scenes to calm the situation, hoping to find a compromise that allows Shanahan to maintain authority while giving Boza the respect his resume demands. Whether that balance can be struck remains the burning question. Until then, the locker room remains a powder keg, and every game could be the spark that either unites them in shared purpose or blows the whole thing apart, sending shockwaves through the season and beyond. Behind the scenes, there are whispers that Shanahan's explosion might not have been spontaneous at all, but rather something building up over weeks of frustration. Sources say that during film sessions, the coaching staff has quietly been pointing out lapses in Boza's technique, moments where his explosiveness seemed a step slower or his awareness not as sharp as usual. Shanahan, usually patient, reportedly grew tired of excusing those lapses, especially when younger players were being called out for similar mistakes. Some believe Shanahan deliberately chose to challenge Boza in public to set an example, to prove that no one is above critique. If that's true, it's a risky strategy, because while it might motivate some players, it can also alienate a star who is unaccustomed to being singled out. The locker room, insiders claim, has already begun to feel the ripple effects, with certain position groups quietly aligning themselves either with Shanahan's tough love approach or with Boza's need for respect. What was once a united team driven by one goal now has undertones of tension, as conversations drift from game plans and matchups to whispers about loyalty, trust, and whether the head coach has overstepped his boundaries this time. Adding more fuel to the fire, the financial aspect cannot be ignored. Boza is not just a player, but a massive investment, one of the highest-paid defensive stars in football, and that status carries weight both on and off the field. Rumors suggest that part of Shanahan's frustration comes from the idea that Boza's enormous contract might have shifted his priorities, with more attention going to maintaining his brand and less to the relentless grind of preparation. Whether or not that perception is fair, once a coach believes it, the relationship is difficult to repair. Players close to Boza insist that he hasn't changed, that he still works harder than anyone, but perception often matters more than reality in the NFL. Some inside the building even wonder if Shanahan is trying to remind the entire locker room that contracts and accolades don't buy immunity from criticism. The problem is that when you confront a superstar publicly, the stakes go far beyond XS and OS. You're challenging pride, identity, and reputation. That's a dangerous game, one that can backfire quickly. And for now, Shanahan seems willing to gamble everything to send his message. Teammates are said to be walking on eggshells, careful with their words, afraid to say anything that might be interpreted as picking sides. The defense, in particular, is in a delicate spot because Bosa isn't just another piece of the puzzle. He's the anchor, the tone setter, the guy who dictates how offenses block and how teammates rally. Linebackers and safeties depend on his disruption up front, and when his relationship with the coaching staff is strained, it affects everyone's confidence. Some insiders describe practices that feel unusually tense, with Shanahan watching closely, looking for effort, while players whisper about whether Bosa is still giving his all. On the flip side, Bosa's closest friends in the locker room reportedly encourage him to ignore the noise and just keep playing, insisting the drama will fade if he dominates on the field. But in football, perception is often reality, and every play is now under a microscope. Even routine mistakes are framed as signs of a rift, and teammates know that reporters will be looking for any crack in the facade. That constant scrutiny only adds pressure, making it harder for the team to focus solely on winning. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Meanwhile, the front office faces its own dilemma. General Manager John Lynch, respected for his ability to balance player relationships and organizational discipline, is now caught in the middle of a storm that threatens to derail the season. On one hand, Lynch must support his head coach, maintaining a united leadership front. On the other, he understands the value of Bosa not just as a player, but as a symbol of the franchise's identity. Insiders claim that Lynch has already held quiet conversations with both men, trying to ease tensions, but the task is monumental. Coaches and players may forgive in time, but they rarely forget moments of public humiliation or confrontation. If this tension lingers, it could influence everything from play calling to contract negotiations in the future. The whispers suggest Lynch is desperate to keep this under wraps, but leaks continue to spill, making the situation even harder to control. Every headline that mentions the rift amplifies the drama, and the longer the silence from both sides, the louder the speculation becomes. For a team with championship aspirations, leadership unity is critical, and right now, that unity looks dangerously fragile. Outside voices are beginning to circle like vultures. Analysts on television debate whether Shanahan has finally overplayed his hand, while rival fans gleefully point to the chaos as evidence that the 49ers are cracking under pressure. Even other teams' executives are said to be watching closely, wondering if this situation could one day create an opportunity to pry Bosa away if relations deteriorate further. The NFL is, after all, a league where star players sometimes force their way out when conflicts reach a breaking point. No one is suggesting that's imminent, but the fact that people are even whispering about it shows how serious this has become. The narrative is shifting from a simple, heated moment to a question of whether Shanahan's leadership style is sustainable when dealing with elite talent. Some believe the coach is right to demand accountability at all costs, while others think he risks alienating the very players who make a system work. In the end, perception often becomes reality, and right now, the perception is of a team walking a thin line between dominance and dysfunction, with every week feeling like a referendum on the relationship between coach and star. The season rolls on, but the storm clouds refuse to fade. Each game now feels like more than just a contest. It's a test of whether Shanahan and Bosa can coexist under the same roof. Insiders suggest that if the team keeps winning, the drama might stay contained, pushed into the background by the thrill of victories. But if losses begin to pile up, the tension will only grow louder, and the narrative of a divided locker room will become impossible to silence. For fans, the hope is that cooler heads prevail, that the coach and the star can put egos aside for the sake of the bigger goal. But in professional sports, where pride runs deep and pressure is relentless, such resolutions are never guaranteed. For now, the whispers remain just that, whispers, but they echo through the locker room, the front office, and the fan base like a warning bell. Something is brewing in San Francisco, and unless it's addressed soon, the 49ers may find themselves fighting battles both on the field and within their own walls, a war that could define not just this season, but the legacy of everyone involved. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.